Studies suggest that the gender difference in cheating is diminishing, especially among younger people, despite the fact that societal conventions and Hollywood depictions frequently portray men as the sex more inclined to cheat. This is especially true among younger individuals. Consider, for example, the findings of a research study conducted by the Kinsey Institute at Indiana University, which found that among participants with an average age of 31, there were no significant gender differences in the report of infidelity, 23% of men versus 19% of women. The General Social Survey, GSS, that was conducted by the National Opinion Research Center in 2018 indicated that women between the ages of 18 and 29 were somewhat more likely to cheat than males of the same age group. This was the case regardless of marital status, 11% versus 10%. The rate of infidelity among males remained unchanged at 21% during the period covered by the GSS, 1990 to 2010, but the percentage of adulterous women climbed by over 40% during the same time period. What's behind the recent rise in the number of cheating women? Some people think that it's because modern women have more responsibilities, and as a result, their demands and wants have also risen. Women who are financially independent and have access to feminist perspectives are less inclined to make concessions, and they are in a better position to go elsewhere for the emotional and sexual fulfillment that is lacking in their current relationship. According to marital and sex therapist Angela Skirtu M.Ed., LMFT, the gap moved when women went to work and had their own money and choices. With choice comes easy unhappiness. The gap shifted when women went to work and had their own money and options. Additionally, we anticipate a great deal more from a marriage these days. In the past, marriage was viewed as a means through which one might bring up children and be provided for financially. These days, we anticipate that it will bring us joy, satisfying sexual experiences, lifelong companions, and even more. We have put a lot of pressure on marriage, despite the fact that it was never intended to fulfill all of your requirements in the first place. First on the list is discontent in one's relationship. This may be considered as the common thread running across the bulk of the many reasons why people cheat on their partners. According to Skirtu, the beginning of the problem is dissatisfaction. People rationalize this by saying, "We are in a bad patch," she says. People say that because we are in a poor patch. The chance then presents itself to one person, and rather of putting a stop to the situation before it even begins, they rationalize the violation of a boundary by saying, "My partner doesn't care anyhow." When a person crosses a relationship boundary, they have to first justify their behavior to themselves, and only after doing so are they able to compartmentalize the acts that they have taken. A person's inability to find fulfillment in their present romantic partnership may prompt him to look for that fulfillment in other areas of their life, or even to use the act of cheating as a catalyst to break their existing relationship, whether they do it consciously or subconsciously. Number 2, low self-esteem. When a woman is battling with low self-worth, it might prompt her to resort to other sources for the attention and validation that she and her spouse are unable to produce and maintain in their relationship. This can cause the woman to seek attention and validation from the wrong people. The first step toward having low self-esteem is to ask oneself, why would anyone find me attractive? Then, when somebody begins to show that attention, it's a really nice feeling, says Skirtu. A woman who cheats on her partner may look to extramarital encounters as a means of validating their worth or appeal to others. When a casual relationship comes to an end, it is possible that the individual may experience feelings of neglect or worthlessness. As a result, they may look for a new love interest, and the pattern will repeat. Third on the list is emotional deprivation. Studies have shown that the primary motivation for men who cheat is sex, but the primary motivation for women who cheat is often to satisfy an emotional need. And in the case of an emotional affair, there is no sexual component whatsoever in the relationship. Whether the affair is physical or emotional in nature, a woman may cheat because she craves conversation, empathy, respect, devotion, adoration, support, or some other connection that is lacking in the current relationship. This could be the case regardless of whether the affair is physical or emotional in nature. Some people are able to persuade themselves that emotional involvement is not a genuine affair. However, the majority of sexual ones begin with an emotional, says Skirtu, because most sexual relationships begin as platonic friendships. It is unusual, in my experience, for there to be no emotional involvement in a purely sexual encounter. This is how you begin to push limits and excuse the activity you are engaging in. Number 4, the choice between wrath and vengeance. Some women go into romantic partnerships with a preconceived notion of the perfect demeanor that their future partner ought to exhibit. It is possible for a rift to form in a romantic partnership if one of the parties is unable to fulfill the other party's every want and need. This can be the incentive for the other party to go elsewhere for satisfaction. Some women may feel resentment toward their relationship for another cause, such as their partner's previous affair, and they may resort to their own cheating as a form of retribution against their partner. The fifth problem is a lack of excitement. You've probably heard of the phrase, serial cheaters, which refers to persons who cheat repeatedly only for the excitement of it. They may have feelings of affection for their significant other, but they may want for the endorphin-fueled interactions that characterize the beginning of a new relationship. Skirtu notes that she believes that as a culture, we don't honestly confront how monotonous one's work and family life might be at times. I just finished watching the program Good Girls, and one of the plot lines involves them engaging in street crime. The same problem, namely boredom, is being addressed here. It's the same idea, but in my experience, individuals are more inclined to cheat than they are to get engaged in criminal activity. However, 100% of the women denied any intention of leaving their husbands. Some even stated their overt love for their husbands, painting them in a positive light, according to the findings of a study conducted by the affair dating website ashleymadison.com. The study found that 67% of heterosexual married women who cheat were looking for romantic passion. The sixth item on the list is sexual deprivation. The enthusiasm that comes with the beginning of a new relationship only lasts for a limited time, no matter how hard we try to maintain the initial thrill. At some point in the future, predictability and familiarity will trump the quality and quantity of sexual encounters. It shouldn't come as a surprise, therefore, that some women who cheat are missing those exhilarating markers of a relationship's earlier phases, when passion and mystery have yet to give way to routine. In point of fact, Skirtu is of the opinion that this is one of the historical factors that contributed to the prevalence of male-dominated adultery. It could have been an assumption that at a certain moment, sex was not a large part of marriage, thus cheating was a necessary evil. Number 7, loneliness. A woman who cheats may have a boyfriend who works long hours, which leaves them home alone with the children for the most of the day. It's possible that they've reached a point in their lives where it's more challenging to establish new acquaintances, or that their significant other is coping with a long-term health condition. According to Skirtu, loneliness as well as feelings of isolation and disengagement can offer the right ingredients for an affair. This is true regardless of the underlying cause. They start to feel lonely, and someone else begins addressing the needs that have been neglected. Number 8, insecure attachment style. The idea of attachment proposes that the relationships we had in our early infancy shape how we think about and act in the close relationships we experience as adults. One's attachment style as an adult is determined by the level of care and nurturing they received as a child, or the lack thereof. Secure attachment describes an individual who has well-adjusted expectations and approaches to relationships, while anxious attachment describes an individual who displays fear of being abandoned. Avoidant attachment describes an individual who does not seek out close personal relationships, preferring to retain their independence from others. People who identify with anxious and avoidant attachment styles are more likely to demonstrate qualities that are detrimental to the development of a healthy love relationship. Think clinginess and dismissiveness. Additionally, they are more prone to cheat because they look for comfort from a third-party partner or try to escape the intimacy of the primary relationship. Both of these behaviors make them more inclined to cheat. 6. Skirtu adds, there is always a sense of what's on the other side, and never really being satisfied or confident in oneself. There is always a sense of what's on the other side. It may be difficult for someone of this kind to find happiness in any kind of relationship. The 9th spot is for the midlife crisis. Midlife crises tend to strike people between the ages of 35 and 60. Although the onset of the condition has less to do with chronological age and more to do with the impact of life events. It is possible for significant life events, such as the passing of a parent or reaching a landmark birthday, to set off a midlife crisis in a woman. This can cause the woman to struggle with the burden of greatness, which refers to the societal and cultural expectation that women can and should have it all: a successful career, a loving partner, and adoring children, among other things. People have the mentality, I only have a limited amount of time left. What on earth am I doing with the rest of my life? Says Skirtu. As a woman strives to fulfill her potential and make up for lost time, she could engage in behavior that is not typical of her. 10th, an existence of a pre-existing condition. According to Block, someone who suffers from depression is more likely to cheat on their partner. An affair is exciting to the point where the brain can begin to pump out dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, he says. Dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin are neurotransmitters that are produced when we are attracted to someone, and they are also the same chemicals that are produced when we take antidepressants. Not so coincidentally, he says, these are the same chemicals produced when we, in other words, a woman who cheats may be self-medicating through their adultery, even if they are unaware of the genuine cause for the pleasure that they get as a result of their affair. Opportunity, which comes in at number 11. According to Skirtu, very few acts of infidelity are intentional. Rather, they are the outcome of a chance encounter that was not anticipated. They are having a bad day when they run into someone else who is going through something similar. They initially console one another, and then things progress from there, she continues. In most cases, people in this predicament are unable to offer an explanation for their cheating behavior. Even if there are certain moments of truth that might make or break the possible affair, it seems as though it simply sort of occurs by itself. Opportunities of a comparable nature can also be found in the digital arena. Even if the contacts begin innocently, affairs may often serve as a springboard thanks to the ease with which people can connect with one another thanks to the proliferation of technologies such as social media, dating apps, and texting. Number 12, numbing difficult feelings. People are able to build a broad array of coping mechanisms to help them deal with challenging emotions. Sometimes, as an easier alternative than confronting their feelings, people choose coping mechanisms that have the effect of numbing their emotions. Just a few examples include sexual activity, the use of illicit substances and alcohol, as well as other addictions or compulsive behaviors. According to Skirtu, an affair is a means of evading the realities of life. When women struggle to be honest about what they want with their partners and instead seek out a fantasy world that not only numbs but creates an amazing jolt to the system, there is an adrenaline rush to cheating, he said. When women struggle to be honest about what they want with their partners and instead seek out a fantasy world that not only numbs but creates an amazing joy.